Hello student, welcome back to IS Baba. In this session we are going to discuss a very important cycle, that is the carbon cycle. So carbon cycle is basically a gaseous cycle. In the previous session if we have understood the sedimentary cycle, that is phosphorus, and the sulfur cycle, carbon cycle will not be really difficult for you. And as a part of protocol, I have always asked you all to first refer to the previous year's question paper to have a basic understanding about the type of the question that is being asked. Here in the carbon cycle, the question says which one of the following add carbon dioxide to the carbon cycle on the planet Earth. Okay, fair enough. We are not attempting this question. We are just referring to the depth of UPSC question paper. Second question says consider the following. Again, couple of statements are given, and the question is which of the above add carbon dioxide to the carbon cycle on the Earth. Okay, and it was basically a repeated question. In 2011, this question number 27 was asked, and the same question in the different format was asked in 2014. Okay, so very simple question. If you refer question number 28, this 28th question was in 2017, and there are certain terms like what is carbon sequestration. Okay, we'll understand this in today's concept. So it says in the context of mitigating the impending global warming. Okay, see, we all know that the global warming is rising and causing a cause of concern for various climatic phenomena. So in order to mitigate or reduce the impact of the global warming due to anthropogenic emission of the carbon dioxide, which of the following can be the potential site for carbon sequestration? So carbon sequestration over here is basically a process of mechanism through which the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is absorbed and it is being stored. Okay, so a couple of statements are given here as well. We'll try to understand this question also. Then certain term related to the blue carbon, green carbon, black carbon, will do that also. Okay, so what is the blue carbon? 2021 ka question. Then 30th question if we see was related to the carbon fertilization. So a piece of advice that anything related to the carbon, that is the process of the carbon absorption, that is carbon sequestration, okay, the impact of the carbon, the release of the carbon from various industries and through the natural phenomena, the carbon storage, okay, the carbon sink, all of the term that is related to carbon. Secondly, the organizations that is responsible for mitigation of the global warming, especially the reduction of the carbon dioxide, okay, the various conventions, protocols, okay, the government policies at the national and the international level related to reducing the increasing release of the carbon dioxide, then carbon cess, then the carbon trading, carbon credit, all of these should be dealt. Carbon being very important topic in your overall preparation. So here in this basic things we are understanding the carbon cycle, and the subsequent topics will deal those dimensions also. The last question says human activity in the recent past have caused the increased concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, but a lot of it does not remain in the lower atmosphere, because in atmosphere carbon dioxide is being released, but all of these carbon dioxide do not remain in the atmosphere. So where do these carbon go? That is the question about. Okay, so it was a concept based question asked in 2011. So with respect to the cycles, carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, concept based question will be asked. Okay, so it is important that we should be very well versed about it. Having understood the demand of the carbon cycle, it is time that we should study this carbon cycle. So in general, carbon cycle is basically a gaseous cycle which either initiates from that of the atmosphere or the ocean via the evaporation. Carbon cycle is relatively faster as compared, or any of the gaseous cycle is relatively faster as compared to the sedimentary cycle. As I said, none of the cycle is 100% complete. So is the case with the gaseous cycle. Our focus will be on these two, that is nitrogen and the carbon. The water which is a hydrological cycle need not be studied over here, and in last 20 years also UPSC have not asked any question on what is the impact or the causes or the change in any concentration of the water cycle. Okay, so here we are. So what is the initiation point? Since it is a gaseous cycle, so carbon dioxide is already available in the atmosphere. What is the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? It is 0.036%. If we look into the atmospheric composition of the various other gases, so in atmosphere we are not supposed to study the micro composition of these inert gases, but in the atmospheric composition we all know that nitrogen is approximately 78%, and then the oxygen approximately 20-21%, then the argon, then we have carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is 0.036%. Okay, so if we see nitrogen and oxygen, they collectively forms how much? 99% of the oxygen of the atmosphere. And other, like you take helium or hydrogen, okay, or any of these gases, they would form only 1%. So these gases are in very minor concentration in the atmosphere. Our focus is this carbon. So carbon is already there in the atmosphere. Okay, and if you refer to any of the previous question which talks about the air quality, which talks about air quality, for example WHO's air quality guideline, or you take the air quality index, over there carbon dioxide is not one of the parameter in those indexes. Why carbon dioxide is not one of those parameters? The reason is carbon dioxide is naturally available in the atmosphere. Okay, though carbon dioxide is released through various anthropogenic activities, also carbon dioxide is mainly responsible for greenhouse effect that will cause warming. Okay, carbon dioxide as such do not have a direct negative implication on the living organisms. Carbon dioxide will have an indirect implication through increased temperature of the atmosphere. Okay. On the other hand, other gases like sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide, particulate matter of varying size, okay, or ozone, carbon monoxide, lead, or ammonia, they have direct implication or direct negative impact on the living organism. That is the reason why those gases, okay, those pollutants will be there in the air quality index, okay, at the national or at the international level. But carbon dioxide is not there in the air quality index. It is an important greenhouse gas. It is an important natural gas which is released through the natural process, like through breathing out. Okay, so here in the case of the carbon cycle, what we have studied since our school days is carbon dioxide is being used by the plants for the photosynthesis process, and in the process what does it do? It prepares food, that is cellulose, and this cellulose is being consumed by the consumers, be it primary or the secondary consumers. So this carbon element is being transferred from the plant to that of the animal. The animal would be breathing out carbon dioxide, okay, would be taking in the oxygen and breathing out the carbon dioxide. Okay, this is one simple cycle of carbon, but the animal would also be generating waste, okay, excreta, and through that process also carbon dioxide will be available in the atmosphere. Then animals and the plant both may die, okay, both may die. So these, some of these nutrients will be available back into the environment to be absorbed by the plants, or through the decomposing bacteria, okay, these will be released back into the atmosphere, carbon dioxide. Okay, so it is basically released in the form of the methane get oxidized to form carbon dioxide, and again it will form part of the carbon cycle. Okay, so out here this is a very simple representation of the carbon cycle. Now don't you think there is another natural process like volcanic eruption? Okay, through the volcanic eruption also various gases is being released. Okay, so carbon dioxide would also form part of this volcanic eruption. Okay, through other natural process wherein at the divergent plate boundary. Okay, let us say that the plates are diverging, the divergent plate boundary, the cracks is being created, and from the interior of the earth, from the interior of the earth, through these cracks, the carbon dioxide may be released. Not only carbon dioxide, but various other gases may be released and may change the composition of the atmosphere. Okay, so earlier, if we see, the composition of the atmosphere was not what it is today. Carbon dioxide was very much larger in the concentration, okay, and oxygen was very, very less. And over the period of time, through the living organisms, oxygen concentration started increasing, carbon dioxide concentration started decreasing. Okay, so that was a natural process, natural phenomena, wherein the carbon dioxide from very high, it is what is 0.036% today. But today, because of the anthropogenic activity, the carbon dioxide concentration is again increasing. So it is not the natural process which is harmful, it is the anthropogenic process which is causing concern. So if we look into the anthropogenic concentration through the industrial activities or through the automobiles, the burning of the fossils, the carbon is being released into the atmosphere. Okay, and why carbon dioxide is a cause of concern? Because carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. What do you mean by the greenhouse gas? For that, you need to understand the greenhouse effect. So let us first understand the greenhouse effect. Okay, the greenhouse effect. So consider a house which is made up of glass. The glass is made in such a manner that it is transparent to the incoming sunlight. So incoming sunlight is able to enter into this glass house. Okay, and when it enters this glass house, after reflection, what happens is the glass is designed in such a manner that it is not letting uh, this reflected sunlight to leave this house. So in the process, the internal reflection will continue to take place and the temperature would remain trapped within this house. With this, the temperature would increase. Okay, so the incoming sunlight, since sunlight is a radiation have got certain frequency, certain wavelength. So the incoming sunlight is having shorter wavelength. Okay, and the reflected sunlight which is getting reflected back and going back into the atmosphere, they are having longer wavelength. So this house is designed in such a manner that it is transparent to the shorter wavelength radiation, it is opaque, not transparent to the long wave radiation. So internal reflections will take place, the temperature will rise. Okay, so this is the house which is responsible for increasing the temperature. Now why this is called as the greenhouse? The reason is in the colder regions, temperate regions where the temperature is very, very less, or where the sunlight is very, very slant and the intensity is not very high. So in those regions, in order to keep the house warm, in order to do the cultivation of the crops, those cultivation of the crops is done in such kind of arrangements. Okay, so over there the crop cultivation is being done. So basically in this region, that is the process through which farming is being done. That is the reason why it is known as a greenhouse. So greenhouse effect means a process, a mechanism to increase the temperature. So in the similar manner, carbon dioxide also does the same thing. So carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is responsible for, it is transparent to the incoming radiation. Okay, once it enters this carbon molecule, it traps this heat and do not let it go back. Okay, so if I add more number of carbon into the atmosphere, okay, more number of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, more trapping of the heat will take place and concentration of the heat in the atmosphere will take place. This will lead to what? This will lead to increase in the temperature. Okay, so any of these gases which traps the heat, do not let it go back into the space, okay, will be responsible for increasing the temperature. So such gases are called as greenhouse gases. Such gases are called greenhouse gases. So carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. Similarly, we have methane, sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide, and even water vapor. All of these are greenhouse gases. But carbon dioxide is considered as having a very higher potential as compared to other greenhouse gases. Okay. So, in this natural carbon cycle, if there is an increased human activities, increased industrialization, more release of carbon dioxide, increased burning of the fossil fuel, more release of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, what will happen is it will disturb the entire carbon cycle. Okay, so in order to understand the anthropogenic reasons and the effects of the carbon dioxide, it is important that we should be knowing this carbon cycle. Okay, so let us have a more clear understanding of the same phenomena, and after that we will do some questions. Okay, so here we have understood that carbon dioxide is available in the atmosphere, and from the atmosphere there is only one mechanism through which carbon dioxide is being trapped, that is through the plants. Okay, and from rest all the other mechanisms like the release of carbon dioxide through the industries or through the automobiles or from the domestic applications or through the natural process like volcanic eruptions, okay, or through the divergence of the plate where the crack happens and the gas is being released in the atmosphere, or through the respiration of the plants or the animals, almost through majority of the process there is an addition of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and through one natural process, that is through the photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is again absorbed by the plants and it is being utilized for the availability of the food chain. Okay, so when the plant dies, okay, or when the animal dies, again the organic decomposition will take place and it will be released back into the atmosphere. Okay, now comes this part. The carbon dioxide that is released in the atmosphere, the entire carbon dioxide do not remain in the atmosphere. Some of these carbon dioxide is also being absorbed or get stored in the water bodies. Okay, so basically there is exchange of the gases at the ocean and the atmosphere level, wherein some carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is added in the from the atmosphere is absorbed in the water bodies. Some carbon dioxide from the water body is released in the atmosphere. So there is an exchange. Okay, it may either be released or being absorbed. Okay, so every carbon that is released in the atmosphere not necessarily remain in the atmosphere. Some of it becomes part of the ocean also, and there the food chain may start there. Okay, that is the aquatic plants. The aquatic plants, which is usually along the continental shelf region, through the process of the photosynthesis, they will be absorbing the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Okay, they will be preparing the food. They in turn will be eaten by the smaller fish. Small fish in turn would be eaten by the larger fish. Okay, when either plants or animal dies, okay, the carbon will be either in the form of the marine deposits, that is calcium carbonate, will be stored in the earth crust, or again it may be released back into the atmosphere. Okay, so over there also the carbon cycle may continue to take place. Okay, so I hope carbon cycle to an extent is understood. Now this is not everything. Here comes some complex understanding of the same cycle. Okay, so do not get carried away by such a complex chemical reaction over here. UPSC have been entering into the details of these questions, so we will also go accordingly. Okay, so let us go with this. Through the volcanic eruptions, through the volcanic eruption, the carbon dioxide is added into the atmosphere. okay, added into the atmosphere. And in the atmosphere, what may happen that through the rainfall, the carbon dioxide reacts with the water, thereby forms what? Carbonic acid, H2CO3, and this carbonic acid may fall back again on the surface. Wet deposition, if you remember, carbonic acid should not be termed as the acid rain because carbonic acid is very, very weak. Okay, it is relatively weak. Okay, so again, it will be forming the part of the carbon cycle. Okay, so now over here in the atmosphere, when it is being released, okay, it is being absorbed by the plants, or it may fall in the form of the wet depositions. Okay, now this carbonic acid, when gets mixed with the water bodies, there comes the problem. So consider that carbon dioxide was released from the was released into the atmosphere by some industrial process. This carbon dioxide got dissolved into the water bodies. Now, in the water body, it may form a weak carbonic acid. What it is? It is an acid. Though it is weak, it is a acid. And in the water bodies, there is corals. Okay, there are marine organisms which are made up of calcium carbonates. They are made up of calcium carbonates. Okay, and what are calcium carbonates? They are alkaline material. Okay, they are alkaline material. Okay, so what will happen is when there is an increased concentration of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, there is an increased concentration of carbon dioxide in the ocean, and it will lead to increased acidification in the ocean. Okay, so it will cause ocean acidification. Ocean acidification. Okay, we will get into the detail of this topic again. And ocean acidification, so acid will react with these calcium carbonates. So these calcium carbonates basically act as a protection mechanism. Okay, so the marine organisms they secrete calcium carbonates. Marine organisms like, for example, corals, or fish, or shells, okay, or eggs also of these marine organisms, these are made up of calcium carbonate in order to protect themselves. They are alkaline in nature. When you put acid on these alkaline material, it will dissolve, isn't it? It will make it weak. Okay, and in this process, what will happen is it will destroy the marine organisms. Okay, I hope you got that anthropogenic excess of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is not only harmful for the atmosphere, it is harmful for the marine organisms also. Okay, so here it is important that we should be taking into consideration that excess of carbon dioxide should not be released. So that is what is being explained over here. When excess of the carbon dioxide is being released, this carbonic acid will be reacting with the oceans. Okay, and in the oceans it will lead to the dissolutions of this calcium carbonates. Okay, and when these organisms die out again through the chemical precipitation or through the biogenic carbonates, again it will form part of this sedimentary rocks, okay, carbonates, and through that metamorphic rock or the igneous rock, whatever. Okay, again from here the rock cycle will start. Okay, now carbon dioxide can be released into the atmosphere through the human activities. Carbon dioxide can be released into the atmosphere through the divergence of the plate tectonics. Okay, carbon dioxide will be released into the atmosphere through the respiration process also. Okay, and carbon dioxide through these living organisms can form part of the biomass, that is photosynthesis. Okay, and when the biomass becomes dead, okay, so the dead organic material, again the decomposing bacteria will act upon it, again it will release the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, or this material may form part of the sedimentary rocks, sediments, and again this will form part of the uh, the metamorphic rock, and through that the igneous rock, and from here the rock cycle will start. Okay, so they may be released here itself. The short, this will be a small cycle over here. Okay, and in this case of the small cycle, the cycle will be relatively faster, whereas when it forms part of the fossils, the cycle will still continue to take place, but it will be relatively longer cycle. And when these sediments forms part of the crust or the rocks, the cycle will again continue to take place, but it would be relatively a much longer cycle. Okay, so here you can see the cycle may be short enough, where the dead biomass, okay, through the decomposing bacteria, then the cycle would be relatively longer, where it forms part of the fossil, from fossil being burned up and again forming part of the cycle, and ultimately it may form part of the rocks, and again through this weathering and decomposition, weathering and fragmentation, again it will form part of the cycle. So basically it is a very big cycle, very complex cycle. Okay, and though big and complex, it is easy to understand. Now we have understood that human beings are responsible for excess of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So human being can absorb this carbon dioxide, excess of carbon dioxide again back, isn't it? When there are technology to release carbon dioxide, there can be technology to absorb the carbon dioxide also. Yes, it can be done. And carbon dioxide is being absorbed mainly through the photosynthesis. Carbon sequestration is done mainly through the photosynthesis, okay, through the plants. The technology can also be deployed to absorb this excess, and those excess of carbon that is being absorbed, okay, absorption of the carbon from the atmosphere is called as carbon sequestration. Okay, and those stored carbon are called as a carbon sink. Okay, so we'll take that also. Okay, carbon sink. And when here also, can I say this is also carbon sink? Okay, so since this is green plant, so the green carbon sink, here also carbon absorption can take place. Okay, so since it is water, so blue carbon sink. Okay, and carbon that is being stored over here in this fossil, can I say it is a black carbon sink? Okay, so carbon absorption can be taken place, and storage of this naturally on the terrestrial would be green carbon sink, in the water blue carbon sink, in the fossils are the black carbon sink. Okay, so let us do one or two simple questions, then we'll proceed ahead. Here the question says you should be able to attempt this question on your own first. The question says consider the following: photosynthesis, respiration, decay, organic matter, okay, volcanic action. So here it says which one of the above add a carbon dioxide to the carbon cycle on the earth. Okay, so the question is adding of the carbon dioxide to the carbon cycle on the earth. Okay, so here you can see that photosynthesis is responsible for reducing of the carbon dioxide, not adding of the carbon dioxide. The very first statement is wrong. Respiration adds or release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Decay of organic matter release carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Volcanic action also add carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So 2, 3 and 4 are the correct one. Okay, C is the correct answer. Very simple question. This was a 2011 question. Now same question was repeated. Okay, almost 99% repetition is there in this 2014. If you observe this question, it says which one of the following add carbon dioxide to the carbon cycle on the planet Earth? Volcanic action, yes. Respiration, yes. Photosynthesis, no. Decay of organic matter, yes. So 1, 2 and 4. C is the correct answer here also. So student, the objective of solving the UPSC question along with the studying is dual in nature. One is to understand the language of UPSC. Second is to get an idea of the topic, the length of the topic and the depth of the topic. To what extent are you going to study any XYZ topic? Okay, and also it will give you confidence that you are able to solve the UPSC question. So here C is the answer. Now here is a little difficult question. Okay, so it says human activities in the recent past have caused the increased concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. True, but a lot of it does not remain in the lower atmosphere because of. Okay, do not get carried by the word lower. Okay, that the atmosphere have got different layer. Okay, troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, exosphere. Okay, so the lower atmosphere, that is the troposphere, is the layer wherein most of the gases are present. So do not get carried. What is this lower atmosphere? It is considered atmosphere. Okay, so first statement, it escapes into the outer stratosphere. Second is the photosynthesis by the phytoplanktons in the ocean. Third is trapping of the air in the polar ice caps. Okay, so over here, we have just understood the carbon cycle. Okay, it says it escapes into the outer stratosphere. See, in order to attempt this question, you need to have an understanding of geography as well as environment. From the geography, you will be studying a topic called as the climatology. And in this climatology, you're going to understand what are the various layers of the atmosphere. So the lowermost layer of the atmosphere is the troposphere. Above that is stratosphere. Above that is mesosphere, and then the thermosphere, exosphere. Okay. So most of these gases remain in the troposphere. Okay, you take any of the gases, carbon, or you take nitrogen or oxygen, all of these gases are in the troposphere, which you can say is the lower atmosphere. Okay, so it escapes into the outer stratosphere. This is absolutely a wrong statement, so you can safely eliminate option A. Second is photosynthesis by the phytoplanktons in the ocean. We have just done this. Carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere do not remain altogether in the atmosphere, because some of this is being utilized here in this ocean also. Yes, some of this is utilized here in the ocean also. You can see over here. Yes, carbon dioxide is utilized, is absorbed in the ocean also, and photosynthesis takes place there as well. Okay, so this is a correct statement. Okay, second statement is correct. Third, trapping of the air in the polar ice caps. Okay. Now, if you have understood this, certainly you know that D cannot be the answer. It has to be either B or C. Okay, so you are half the way. Okay, the third statement might be a little confusing. Trapping of the air in the polar ice caps. So you consider Earth. So this is the polar region. Okay, the North Pole. This is the southern polar region. So what does this third statement say? That the carbon dioxide that you release in the atmosphere is trapped in the polar region. It can be in the North Pole region, it can be in the South Pole region. So that is really not the case, because what may happen in that case is the entire polar region may get may get melted away. Okay, and again the release of these carbon will be taking place in the atmosphere. Okay, so third is also not the case. Second one is the correct one. Okay, B is the correct answer over here. Okay, now as I said, that since the carbon dioxide is added into the atmosphere through natural process also and man-made process also. Okay, so carbon dioxide can be again absorbed from the atmosphere through the man-made process or with the help of the technology. Okay, so be it natural or be it anthropogenic, the process of absorption of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is called as a carbon sequestration, and the carbon which is being stored through this process, or the stored carbon, is called as the carbon sink. Okay, the carbon sink. So the carbon sink can be the plants, as the plants is responsible for absorbing. So here, since the plants are green, so the term green carbon sink is being used, and the carbon dioxide may also be absorbed by the aquatic plants and stored within it. So over there the term blue carbon sink is being used. Okay, and they both may form part of the fossils. Okay, and fossils are, since they are black in color, so black carbon sink is a term that is given. Okay, now with the help of some technology, okay, let us say some technology is there, and you have absorbed this carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Okay, and definitely it needs some space for the storage. Where will you store? Will you store it in some kind of container? Okay, so basically those regions will be preferred where in the past carbon was already present. So can I say coal seams? Okay, it is basically those regions where coal was present. So you extracted the coal, now it is kept empty. So can you store the carbon there? Yes, that would be a very very good site. As such, it can be stored in a container anywhere. It can be stored. Okay, but the storage space is constrained. Okay, so the already available natural regions like coal seams or wherever you get to extract fossil fuels or the gases. Okay, so all of these regions can be a potential site for the storage of the carbon. Okay, so the mechanism or the process is called as carbon sequestration. Carbon sequestration, and the stored carbon is called as the carbon sink. In the case of uh, water, it will be the blue carbon sink. Okay, in case of the terrestrial plants, it will be the green carbon sink, and in the case of fossils, it will be the black carbon sink. Okay, I hope you will not get confused by this term. And here is the potential site for the carbon sequestration. You can take coal bed methanes, okay, then depleted oil reserves, and geological formations like the deep aquifers. At all of these places carbon can be stored, and through the technology, through a proper channeling method, all of this can be reutilized again. Okay, simple. Here is the question. It was asked in 2017. The question says, in the context of mitigating the impending global warming through the anthropogenic emission of carbon dioxide, which one of the following can be the potential site? Potential site. See, over here, UPSC have mentioned the term potential site. It means potential, possibly. Okay. So it can be anything. Okay, if it do not use this term potential site, if it uses the term definite site or the only sites, okay, then you have to be very specific over here. Potential site yani ki possible sites. So possible can be any possible sites, no? Okay, so for the carbon sequestration, so in such type of questions where they are talking about the possible places, so possibility can be any. Okay, it can be all. In such kind of questions, usually all of them can be the possibility, and the answer is all, D. But still read this statement. It says abandoned and uneconomic coal seams. So those regions from where the coal was being extracted and it is now abandoned, can you store there? Yes. Depleted oil and gas reserves. You extracted gas and oil, it is empty now. Can you store there? Yes. Subterranean deep saline formation. So basically in the deeper regions, okay, uh, on the earth crust itself, okay. So that is basically the subterranean deep saline formations. Okay, there also it can be stored. So all is the answer over here. Okay, so a hint for the UPSC question that we learned over here is, if the question talks about some possibilities, okay, any kind of possibilities can be anything. If it is talking about any specific statement, in specific statement usually all are not answers, but in possible statements all can be the answer. Okay, this can be dealt later on, but what we have seen while the assessment of the question, that there was a term related to the blue carbon. So here is this question. Question number 29. It says, what is blue carbon? So it is very very simple. So blue carbon is the carbon that is being sequestered and it is stored in the water bodies. So carbon captured by ocean and the coastal ecosystem. Okay, very simple. Okay. Now let us understand what can be the term used for this. Carbon sequestered in the forest, biomass and agriculture soil. So can I say it is the green carbon? The carbon contained in the petroleum and natural gas, can I say it is the black carbon? Carbon present in the atmosphere, so that is not given any color terms. Okay. Carbon fertilization we have done in the past. We will do this question again in the future. Okay. So I believe with the help of this carbon cycle, you are in the position to attempt a number of questions, and similarly we'll be dealing with the nitrogen cycle. We'll be attempting some questions there also. Thank you, student.